everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today I am going to be showing you how I package up my plant cuttings to send in the post to someone else, whether that might be because I've sold them to somebody, or because I'm doing a plant swap, or I'm just sending to a friend or family member. This is just a run through of how I prepare them to make sure they don't get damaged in shipping, and to give them the best possible chance of surviving in the post. So you will need a few things. I'm going to switch the angle so you can see what I'm doing. You will need a few things before you start. So first of all, I've got aluminium foil. I've also kind of cut up some kitchen roll into strips and moistened it. This is going to be a nightmare to get apart, I think, but okay. So we've got some, probably about at least 2 to 3 inches width of kitchen roll, just cut into strips and moistened. And then we also need a pair of scissors to cut up the tin foil, and after that I will show you how I package them within the box. Basically that's just with some form of reused bubble wrap or recyclable bubble wrap, or whatever I've got in other packages that I've received in the post myself. I tend to kind of hold on to them and reuse them. I am actually packaging up these cuttings for a fellow plant tuber. This is for Jerry. I'm not going to show you everything that I'm sending him because I want them to be a surprise, although he'll probably receive it before I put this video up anyway, but just in case. I don't know, but yeah, I won't show you everything I'm sending him because no doubt he'll probably mention something about that on his channel, so I don't want to spoil any surprises, but make sure you do go and check him out at Planting Memories. I will put a link card that side, I think it's that side. Yeah, I'll put a link card up here, and I'll also link to him in the description. So let's just get into it, and I will show you how I prepare these cuttings. Okay, so the cutting that I'm going to be showing you how to prepare for transport or being posted today is the Syngonium podophyllum tri-leaf wonder, I believe this is. And hopefully you can see we've got a lovely leaf node here, and it's got a big fat root coming out to the side. So I'm just going to get this pre-moistened tissue, and we're going to just wrap this up, taking care to make sure that that lovely root is covered, so that's going to stay moist. I actually think I might need 2 tissues for this one because he's got quite a long node. I know, we'll see. This little bit you can see poking out, that's can't actually tell if that's root or sphagnum moss. I think it's sphagnum moss. Yeah, it's sphagnum moss. Yep, we're just going to wrap this all up gently, making sure not to crush anything. I am actually going to double up on this one just because he's quite a thirsty looking root, and he's got quite a lot to him. So that just ensures that he's got plenty of moisture available, and also gives him a little bit of added protection whilst in transit. So the next thing we need is our tin foil. I've just cut this up to basically make sure that it will cover this whole wet part of the tissue. The reason why we wrap it in tin foil is to make sure that the moisture doesn't escape too much, and that it just kind of protects this whole area, make sure that the tissue doesn't fall off and the root doesn't dry out. Even if you don't have a root on your leaf node, you do want to make sure that you still have this moist tissue on a leaf node. It is quite important. The only exception to that would be if you're sending a cactus or a succulent. If you're sending a cactus or succulent bare rooted, you do not want to do this moisture step. You just want to package them in some dry tissue or some dry bubble wrap or whatever it is. Just make sure you're not exposing them to moisture throughout their transit journey, because it will probably rot them. So we just grab this here, make sure that your foil is coming just above the top of the tissue to make sure that it's kind of keeping all that moisture in. And we're just going to wrap this around very gently so that we don't harm the root. And I'm just going to tuck this little bit up at the end, sort of, I guess, a little bit like a burrito in a way, sort of, just to make sure that that moisture isn't going to come out of the bottom. And there we have it, one ready cutting. And this is how you prepare all of your cuttings. I would try and do them individually unless you've got really tiny ones, just so that you make sure that each one has got the appropriate amount of moisture and tissue around it and it's adequately protected. But that's pretty much it. So let's jump back to putting it into the box. So once we have a cutting, I'm just using this one as an example, we want to put it into a box to make sure it's going to be well protected. Say for example, your postman is chucking boxes hither and thither. You don't want your cuttings to be rattling around, particularly because you don't want to damage the leaves and you don't want to damage the roots, are the really important ones if you're sending cuttings that have roots. So what I'm using actually a box that came with a router in it. So it's a reused BT box. It's actually very good for plant cuttings because it's letterbox size, and hopefully that means that it won't be left, I don't know, in a post depot waiting for someone to pick it up. Also, it's nice and flat, and that means that there's not a lot of space for the cuttings to kind of rattle around in, so that's always very handy, although you can just use a normal rectangular cardboard box. Rectangular? Cube? I don't know. The deeper ones, that's what I mean. So I've got that. I've also got some bubble wrap. As you can see, this is a little bit tatty because it is a reused amount of bubble wrap, and I basically just line the bottom with bubble wrap so it's got a nice kind of soft surface down there. If I'm sending a lot of cuttings, I will probably layer some bubble wrap in between them to make sure that it's not getting too damaged in between, and then I'll just lay the cutting down relatively flat, make sure it fits in, it's not getting squished anywhere, and then I would put another layer of bubble wrap just to make sure that everything's kind of fully not going to move around a lot, but it's nicely cushioned. So this I'm going to double over and just gently put that down there. So once I've covered up the cutting, you can see it's fairly nicely cushioned. The leaf isn't going to be rattling around. It's hopefully not going to damage any roots because they're nicely well packaged. And I might end up, if I was just sending this cutting, I'd put in another layer of bubble wrap just to make sure it's really nicely protected. It also helps to keep the humidity up around that leaf, particularly as this is a begonia and it likes high humidity. If it was a cactus or other succulent, I might choose to put some kind of paper, like tissue paper or some like the brown parcel paper around it, so that you're not kind of trapping humidity around that cutting. But for a humidity loving leaf, bubble wrap is fine. So then I would just close it up and get it sent off. You've got to be careful when you're closing them up to make sure that you're not kind of crushing any leaves, but then I would obviously address this, make sure it's sellotaped together so nothing's going to fall out. And I know that it's not always feasible for everyone, but I really think that cuttings and any kind of plant should be sent first class if possible, if not next day delivery or 48-hour delivery, because plants don't like to be in the dark. They don't like to be out of kind of a good rooting environment. They want to be in somewhere where they can photosynthesize and grow. They're not going to do much growing in the dark and with very little air. So you want to make sure that it's going to be received as soon as possible. Another really important thing is not to send out plants on like a Friday or a Saturday unless you're doing next day delivery that includes Sundays. So you want to make sure that your plant/cutting is not going to be sitting in a depot over the weekend or in a hot van somewhere, or it's going to be in the cold somewhere. We basically want to ensure that this is in transit for the least amount of time possible. So So yeah, when you're sending them out, try and send them first class or 48-hour or 24-hour, and try to avoid Fridays and Saturdays, and try to only go for kind of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday a push maybe. So yeah, I hope that's been really helpful. Make sure if you have any questions or comments to drop them down in the comments box below. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like and subscribe. It always really helps. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.